Okay, I'm going to have a look at some yen markets now. I have just finished a video on gold, silver and oil, so please do have a look at that one if you haven't seen it already. Aussie yen I'm looking at the moment. Now, this is a very interesting pattern. You can see we've had a massive run up in the Aussie yen. Let me see, where is that? From March 2020. So we're talking about a good 2-year run up, and look what's happened over the last year really. A big peak, a big drop, a big run up, and then a slightly higher high, as you can see here. That happened in October of last year. Then a nice dip again, not quite as low as the previous low in 2021, just slightly above there, and another huge rally up. Now this rally up so far has only managed to catch the peak up here. What's this peak? 85.80. This peak is 85.86, and of course the 2021 high rather is at 86.24. Okay, so I could argue, really, in theory at least, that this is a head and shoulders pattern, as far as, or a potential head and shoulders pattern, because the two peaks are the two shoulders. The peaks are very close to the head, but they are actually lower than the head. So one to watch. Now the neckline's all the way down at sort of 70, about around 80, 80.00, 79.50, which is also where the 100-week moving average is as well. So we have a long way to go before we even test the neckline. But as I said, I could argue that there is a head and shoulders pattern building, or I could even argue there is a rare triple top pattern building. So unless we close above sort of 87.00 soon, or at least by the end of the week, this pattern could emerge, and it would be very negative. Yeah, a triple top is a much rarer pattern than the double top, and when it plays out, the markets do tend to plunge. So something quite interesting there in the yen, the Aussie yen at least. Not so exciting on the daily chart. Not quite an bearish engulfing candle yesterday. If it was, I would be getting very excited about the prospect of either of those two patterns playing out. But nevertheless, it's still a big negative candle. It's still quite a bull trap there after a good run, and it does make me question whether these overbought indicators on the daily chart, the slow stochastic, are kicking in now and are going to force the Aussie yen significantly lower. Sticking with the yen, we are looking at the dollar yen. There we go. Let me go back a bit. All the way back. Okay, so the dollar yen's had a heck of a run. Look at that. I'm going to now show you the beginning of 2021. This is where the market really took off. We had long periods of consolidation, which of course we didn't know were consolidation. That in itself could have played out. Look, this could easily have been a head and shoulders pattern. I was probably calling it as a head and shoulders pattern at the time, actually. I was probably looking at something along the lines of, well, I might even been looking something along the lines of there. And that could have been a head and shoulders pattern. But of course, the neckline never broke. And as I always warn you, you've got to wait for the break of the neckline. Don't trade a head and shoulders pattern until you've got confirmation and at least a daily close below the neckline. That never happened. So that proved to be a consolidation only in a bull trend. And of course, once you break up out of the consolidation, the market tends to rocket again. I don't know whether you want to call that a bull flag or a triangle or whatever, but anyway, it was a consolidation. Now, we then ran into another consolidation on the daily chart. Let me open this up. Again, I was probably thinking this is a potential head and shoulders. That's probably my trend line here, looking at a head, shoulder, head. But again, the neckline was bang on the 100-day moving average. We never tested it. We just moved into more of a sideways pattern, which I can sort of emphasize with the trend line here. And eventually we broke higher. Now, you will remember my buy signal. 116.25.35 was the level. I've got that imprinted on my brain. Didn't even need to check that. I knew that once we broke above there, stop above 116.45 or whatever it was at the time, we were then going to rock it. We had a fabulous buy signal, and we've had some big runs from there for a couple of days now. I'm wondering whether we're all a bit too overbought. We've got a slightly negative candle here. Of course, we haven't closed the day yet, so we've got to wait and see. I don't think we're going to get a bearish engulfing candle, but wouldn't that be a shocker? That would be a big a bull trap rather. Let's have a look at the monthly chart. We're not near any particular level. What's this high? 118.60, and we have been to 118.44. Okay, so there you go. That's the one, isn't it? That's the horizontal line that we have to watch out for. I'm actually going to join it up with the peak now and see that and see if that is the peak. So this could just be one massive sideways pattern when you look at it on the monthly chart, of course. So watch that. 2017 peak is where we're topping out at the moment. And the question is, do we reverse from here? The daily candle should give us a better clue. If it's quite a negative candle, it might mean that we've got some downside. Who knows? We might even come back here. In fact, why don't I throw some Fibonacci levels on my chart here? That would be a clever idea. And just give me a little bit of a roadmap of where we could get down to. There we go. Does that fit in quite nicely? I like to see if the Fibonacci levels match up. If they do, that indicates to me more of a chance that the market has topped out and we're going to start testing these levels. And actually, this is beautiful. Look how nicely these all line up. Didn't expect that. So 117.04, well, 117.10, 117.00 would be our first support level if we do pull back on the weekly chart. And then we've got really good support around in the low 116 area from these spike highs up here on the weekly chart. Where did we get to? 116.33. This is probably 116, not far off it. 116.34. Okay, so from 116.35 down to 116.15, that's your next big support level in the dollar yen if we get down that far, and we'll keep examining this. But you can see if we were to fall back as far as 114, just below 115.00, that would be a huge potential buying opportunity. I'm looking way into the future there, so we'll keep an eye on that in the days and weeks ahead and see where we go with it. So that's the dollar yen. Weekly chart for the New Zealand dollar yen. Here we go. Now then, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about here? You know what I'm going to talk about. Look at this potential head and shoulders pattern. It's a beauty. It's a beauty. It's a big one, but it is well within the context of this rally. You've heard me talk about this before. Too many people on Twitter see a head and shoulders pattern. Sometimes they even see it after the market's already declined. That's not relevant. It has to be at the top of a significant bull trend, and that's significant enough for me. It's all in proportion is what I'm trying to say. So I wonder, let's have a look at the daily chart. Are we getting quite a negative candle up there on the daily chart? Nothing too negative, but look, bit of a shooting star. We tried to make a new high. That couldn't be sustained. Not only did we close low, we closed lower on the day, we closed below the open as well. So not particularly bullish. We're very overbought in the New Zealand dollar versus the Japanese yen as well. So some interesting patterns are developing that could give some nice trade opportunities, but of course, that's only very long term. Looking at the weekly chart, we'd have to really be breaking below 75.50 for the neckline to break. So we'd have to drop 400 pips before we'd even completed the pattern. But just be aware that we may have formed a peak in the New Zealand dollar yen after a really good month. After a really good month, month and a half actually, of strong moves for the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, let's keep an eye on that pattern during the week as well. Okay, that's going to be it for me for the yen pairs for today. Interesting stuff. We need to keep an eye on those. So stay tuned. Please do like, please do share, please do subscribe, and please do comment and ask me some questions if I can help you. I will post the reports for these three markets in the description box below, so you have all the detail in the short term. If you're an active trader, you're looking to scalp the levels and trade day by day. Okay, that's it for me. I will move on to the stock markets now, so keep an eye on out for those videos coming out later today.